Welcome to Mrs. Feighery's Part 3 Midterm Review for your short answer questions number 1 through 16. Use this after you've already showed me that your numbers 1 through 16 are completed to be able to check your answers. Question number 1 asks you to identify and give the significance of indentured servants. Indentured servants were imported from Europe to work on plantations by their owners. In exchange for passage to North America and food and shelter, an indentured servant agreed to a limited term of service, usually 4 to 7 years. After their term of indenture was completed, then they would be free. The second term is middle passage. The middle passage was the middle leg of the transatlantic trade route that brought Africans from Africa to the West Indies and then on to North America to work as slaves on plantations. This was the most brutal part of the transatlantic trade network. The next term is Constitution. And what I mean by that is the Constitution of the United States of America. The Constitution of the United States of America is the supreme law of the United States. The Constitution was drafted after the Articles of Confederation were shown to be too weak as a form of government. The next term is nationalism. Nationalism is the belief that national interests or the interests of the country should be placed ahead of regional concerns or the other interests of other countries. Nationalism exerted a strong influence in court decisions that we studied, foreign affairs, and westward expansion in the early 1800s. The next term is impressment. Impressment was a British policy and practice of seizing American sailors at sea and impressing them into service or drafting them into the British Navy. This issue led Thomas Jefferson to issue the Embargo Act, which prohibited trade with all other countries. Midnight Judges. The Midnight Judges were the 16 Federalist judges that were appointed by John Adams on the last day of his administration. These appointments angered the incoming president, Thomas Jefferson, and the Democratic Republicans, who argued that the appointments were not valid. The First Amendment. The First Amendment guarantees the rights of American citizens to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble, and freedom to petition your government. Please be sure in your answer on your midterm that you identify all 5 of the freedoms in the First Amendment. Trail of Tears. As a result of the Indian Removal Act, which was passed by Andrew Jackson as president, the Cherokee were forced off their lands and moved west on an 800-mile journey called the Trail of Tears. 1 in 4 Cherokee died on this journey to government-designated Indian Territory. The Alien and Sedition Act. In 1798, the President John Adams and the Federalists pushed the Alien and Sedition Acts through Congress. The Alien Acts raised the residency requirement for American citizens from 5 to 14 years and allowed the President to deport any aliens that he felt were unfit. The Sedition Act set fines and jail terms for anyone who criticized the government, either by speaking or by writing. Both acts violated the First Amendment right of free speech. The Embargo Act is the next term. The Embargo Act was passed by Congress under President Thomas Jefferson, and it placed a ban on exporting products to other countries. Jefferson believed that the ban would hurt Britain and other European powers and force them to honor American neutrality, but instead it hurt American businesses, especially in the Northeast. Term number 11, the Battle of Lexington and Concord. The Battle of Lexington and Concord was the first fighting between the Minutemen and the British Redcoats in the American Revolution. The battle occurred as a result of the British soldiers marching to Concord to capture the weapons that the patriots were rumored to be hiding at Concord. The patriots won this battle. The next terms are the 3 branches of government and their functions. The executive branch, which is the first branch of government, includes the president and the vice president, and its job is to enforce the law or to carry out the law. The legislative branch, the second branch of government, includes the Senate and the House of Representatives, and its job is to make the laws. The third branch of government is the judicial branch, and that includes the federal and district courts, and its job is to interpret the laws. Question number 13 is missing on your review sheet because I made a mistake. Oops. Question number 14 is judicial review. Judicial review is the ability of the Supreme Court to declare an act of Congress or law unconstitutional. The court case Marbury v. Madison was responsible for affirming the principle of judicial review. Term number 15, the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Bill of Rights spell out the individual liberties that the Anti-Federalists had requested and impose general limits on the powers of the federal government. Term number 16 is the Louisiana Purchase. President Thomas Jefferson purchased the Louisiana Territory for $15 million from France in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. The purchase doubled the size of the United States. The territory was then explored by the Lewis and Clark expedition. Now, on your midterm, you will have to choose to identify 10 of the 16 terms that you see. And you'll have to identify them in complete sentences and also give me the information that I reviewed with you on this video. Please let me know if you have any questions.